Sifter for the ear.
News, interviews, reviews, cinema, TV, streaming. Action. Hi, y'all. This is Jerry Williams, a.k.a. TV Jerry. The Virginia Production Alliance's 2024 State of the Industry is an annual event that celebrates our film production culture. This year's event takes place February 6th from 6 to 9 p.m. at Hardywood Craft Brewery. If you're interested in attending, I'll include a link to the VPA on the webpage for this show at tvjerry.com.
If you look closely, you'll find something tragic was happening.
Are you interested in writing something for us?
I don't do assignments anymore.
Yeah, well, you're a better writer than most people do anything. Have you heard the tapes?
No. Of what?
That's an excerpt from the trailer from Origin, and you can hear Blair Underwood talking with the author about the tapes, which refers to the recording of Trayvon Martin. Ingenue Ellis Taylor plays the author of the book, Cast: The Origins of Our Discontents, and it's been turned into a powerful new film by Ava DuVernay. Blair Underwood is the best-known actor to come out of Petersburg. He started his career in local theater, but went on to star in numerous movies, TV shows, and Broadway productions. We talk about his latest role in Origin, plus lots of other stuff, from acting on Broadway to posing for Playgirl.
Sifter Review of the Week.
Normally on this podcast, I review streaming movies and save my theatrical releases for my WRIR film reviews. But since this podcast is about a movie currently in town, I thought I'd review Origin. Ingenue Ellis Taylor plays Isabel Wilkerson, the writer who decides to research racism and ends up writing the bestseller Cast: The Origins of Our Discontents. The process led her to Germany and India before coming up with her revolutionary approach to the hierarchy of human divisions. Director Ava DuVernay, she also co-wrote the screenplay with Wilkerson, has created a hybrid of procedural documentary and personal journey. We watch the author as she discusses her findings with other characters. There are also scenes set in the segregated South, Nazi Germany, and present-day India that add human resonance to the subject. This is an ambitious summation of the book's concepts and a drama that focuses on the influential tragedies in her own life. As such, it goes from somewhat academic to closely personal, with an assured directorial hand. This movie makes challenging, powerful statements about the history of discrimination, which is not only socially important, but deserves to be seen. I gave Origin 4 out of 5 stars.
You're the famous Jerry Williams.
Famous in what way? Did you?
The name I've been seeing on my emails.
Oh, okay. Well, no, the reason I mentioned that is because I was a theater reviewer for many years, and I know you were in on the 20th Century at the Mill, which I probably reviewed, West Side Story, and Born Yesterday for Virginia Rep, which was Theater 4 then, and
That's
Jesus
right.
Christ Superstar at Dogwood Dell. So I probably saw you in some of those things.
That's amazing. That's why you are taking me back.
I'm sure. So speaking of taking you back, obviously your dad was in the military, was a colonel. So is that how you ended up in Petersburg?
That is exactly how we ended up. My dad was the professor of military science at Virginia State University.
So what made you decide to be an actor?
It seemed like something fun to do, and the cutest girls were in that taking acting classes. So I said, yeah, that makes sense.
I've heard so many straight guys say that was how they got into acting, was the cute girls. Then you left Richmond, and what motivated you to get out of Richmond and try to be a professional?
Well, I went to college first in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Carnegie Mellon.
Right.
And when I learned that you could actually go to college to learn about theater and become an actor, I was like, that's really what I want to do. So I went to Carnegie Mellon for 2.5 years. The middle of my third year, I ended up leaving college and then moved to New York in January of 1985 and said, that's what brought me to New York. So I'm going to pursue this acting thing.
Now, before we go to New York, I meant to ask you earlier, what fond memories do you have about working in Richmond Theater back in the 80s, I guess?
Oh, man, so many fond memories. Just the fondest memories I have are Buddy and Betty Callahan, Tom Witt.
Footnote.
Buddy and Betty Callahan co-founded Swift Creek Mill with Lou and Fran Rubin, and Tom Witt is the longtime artistic director.
Tom, gave an acting class during the summer one year. And when I knew I was going to New York, he sat me down and gave me a list of agents that he had dealt with in New York City. And that really was my calling card.
Wow.
He said, call them. He said, but don't just call them. Go knock on their door so you can have a face-to-face. And I took them up and I went through that whole list, and that really started to open doors for me. So really, it's the relationships there. Eloise LeBron at Swift Creek, John Hagedorn, of course. I hadn't seen him in maybe 30 years. prior to that. And listen, I was just there at the mill with my wife and my father, my nephews and my family watching the Christmas show. So every chance I get, I go back to the mill.
Surprise guest drop in.
Wait a minute. Speaking of people from Richmond who wanted to say hello, somebody wanted to drop in and say hello to you.
What?
And who we got here?
Oh, just an old friend. Hey, sweetie, how are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. You look beautiful. So great to see your face. Oh, man. Daphne, I love this woman. And Tim Reed as well and their entire family. I mean, when they built the studio there, New Millennium, and said, let's do this movie called Asunder at the time.
Footnote.
Daphne and Tim Reed are both successful TV and movie actors who moved to Petersburg where they still live. New Millennium Studios was founded by the Reeds, and Asunder was a thriller that they produced in 1999. It starred Blair and was directed by Tim Reed.
And I was just trying to just get any kind of bars on my shoulders, like producing bars from my producer wings. I said, well, I'll act in it, but can I be a producer? And Tim and Daphne said, yeah, well, you can be executive producer. And those credits don't come easy.
Congratulations on your nuptials.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm not pissed off I didn't get invited to the wedding, but
oh no, please don't be. Please don't be.
Well, Daphne, what do you remember about when you first started seeing this young man come up and being an actor?
he was doing such a damn good job. And knowing that he was just from Petersburg, but I had known him from LA Law, from way back. And it was just such a joy to have him a part of our community at the studio too.
You know, I love this community. So it just warms my heart to see you, Daphne, and to be able to speak about these fond memories of that time and space of Richmond.
Excellent. Well, Tim will be down here in just a second, but you guys continue with your conversation.
Oh, good.
So I believe, if the IMDb is right, Crush Groove in 1985 was your first movie?
That's right. That's correct.
And how did you get cast in that? And what do you remember about that?
You know, that was just a very traditional process of just your agent sends you in and you audition and you hope to get the role. And it really was as simple as that. I was blown away and just flabbergasted that it happened. And it happened, relatively quickly. It was my first year in New York. That was 1985.
And then you went on from there. You did all kinds of stuff. Actually, you worked on The Cosby Show, which led you to One Life to Live. How was being a soap opera actor? I know some people are like,
No, listen, I loved it. I tried to kind of be strategic. Soap operas is what you want to do. That's great. But if you want to do nighttime television or films and other things, if you stay too long in daytime television, it's difficult to make the transition. I only did it for 3 months, but Erica Slezak was one of the stars on the show. I don't know if she's on there still, but she was one of those mentors. She took me under her wing just those 3 months and kind of helped me when I had to do contract negotiations and everything else. So, but also she said, if you want to do more, don't stay here too long.
Speaking of wonderful women, wait a minute. Speaking of wonderful women, there's Tim.
Wonderful woman, 2024, man. You want something you want to tell me?
Wait a minute. This is news to me.
Yeah, right? You look good, man.
I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there for an old man.
Wow. Well, never that. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you, man. Let me say, you did a wonderful job in Origin. I was really enjoyed your part in that. I enjoyed the film, but I like to played it,
Thank you very much for that.
Tim, what do you remember about young, innocent little Blair?
I don't know about the innocent part, but
yeah, right.
He was definitely a guy who was not trying to be innocent. He was trying to get into business. He was pretty serious about it. Always been a consummate actor, but he knew early on he had to broaden. Just being an actor was not going to be enough. He knew that all along. He wanted to express himself in many ways.
One of the things I'm most grateful for that I learned from Tim is how to be an entrepreneur. And, with Tim starting that studio, New Millennium in Petersburg, Virginia, a lot of people aren't aware how groundbreaking that was. Right. Tyler Perry is a friend of mine, and I was there at his opening, and I had to make sure on the red carpet, I was setting people straight. First time any African-American man, a black man has done this. I said, well, hold on. Not the first time.
That's right.
Not the first time. I had to bring out this Oscar Michaud, Tim Reed. And I would never forget that. And every chance I get to let people know that, I share that because you broke ground and you showed me how to be an entrepreneur within the confines of show business.
Well, thank you. Where are you, in LA?
I'm in Utah. I moved to Utah a year ago.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, you moved to Utah?
I moved to Utah. I live in the mountains with all this snow out here right now.
I was going to say, it's probably colder than it is here, isn't it? Obviously.
Beautiful.
Yeah, wonderful.
Footnote.
Blair turned his laptop to show us the snowy mountain view from his window.
I'll give you a call so we can touch base too.
Okay, man.
Excellent. Take care, sweetie.
Thank y'all.
Bye-bye.
Meanwhile, back to these women, some of these great women you've worked with. There's been a lot of them, but I wanted to ask you about a couple of them. Cicely Tyson, you worked with on the movie Mama's Floor's Family, and then Trip to Bountiful. It must have been incredible to work with an icon like Cicely Tyson.
I'm laughing because I did a movie with Steven Soderbergh. I'm going to answer your question, but I'm laughing. The director, Steven Soderbergh, and I are doing this interview together, and the interviewer started running down like, you've kissed a lot of women on screen, and like Julia Roberts started running down this list of people. And I said, I've kissed a lot off screen too. So he fell out laughing. So it's like this running joke. But no, I mean, you talk about icons like Cicely Tyson. I mean, I had the tremendous, profound honor to work with her 5 different times.
Wow.
And the last one was the Trip to Bountiful. You're right. So I did not do Trip to Bountiful on Broadway. Cuba Gooding played the role of her son, but I did the tour. We did a couple. So we did Los Angeles, I think Boston. At the time, Cicely Tyson was 90 years old.
Wow.
On stage in every scene physically. It's not a film set, cut and you can relax.
Right.
But I was just astounded by her stamina and her energy and her sharpness and cuteness of her mind and body. She taught me a great deal about integrity of the work and life. I mean, how to be healthy, how to live to 90. She would do 60 push-ups every day.
Wow.
And it was very, very spry and lean, but she was ripped with muscles, just very strong.
Speaking of other great women you've worked with, and you mentioned him earlier, you were in Medea's family reunion. How was working with Medea or Tyler?
It was phenomenal. It really was. We had discussed doing his very first movie, Diary of I think, a Mad Black Woman.
Right.
I couldn't do that. I got a series that I couldn't do it at the time. And then this Medea's family reunion was his second movie. And, I tell you, he was very generous, and he was really breaking into the Hollywood scene. If you know Tyler's story, he did that character Medea, but did plays on the roads for many, many years. But he knew his audience, and he knew his value when it came to Hollywood. So he can negotiate different deals, which to this day, he's broken records of the kind of deals he's been able to create. But him personally was just great. I mean, he told us, he said, listen, I can't pay you what you normally get, but you get a piece of the back end. And I made more money on that movie today than probably anything I've done, because he was so generous with how he negotiated it. He said, if the film wins, we all win.
So how was that working? Because, I mean, obviously he's dressed up as Medea half the time, and then she's got to stop and you see the outtakes at the end. But how was that working with somebody who's right there being this crazy lady, and then now he's your director?
I got to tell you, at first it's funny and fun to watch, but then it just becomes a norm. He switches it on, and as he switches it on and off, you kind of go with him.
Yeah,
especially as an actor, as you're being directed, you want direction. So tell me what I can fix. So that's kind of what tell me what I can do to serve your vision. Right. And in his case, he's writing, directing, producing, and doing all of that.
Sure. Yeah. And then, of course, Octavia Spencer in Self-Made, inspired by the life of Madam C.J. Walker. She's wonderful.
She's wonderful. Academy Award winner. She's another one. We worked together maybe 4 times. I used to call her my good luck charm. So I did City of Angels with Stephen Bochco, who created that, City of Angels. But a number of series where she was in the pilot. And it got to the point, I said, if Octavia's in the pilot, the show's going to get picked up. So here's my good luck charm. But to watch how her career has just exploded. As I said, she won the Academy Award, and now she has a thriving film career, and it's just it's exciting to watch. So it was phenomenal working together all these years later to do Self-Made, the story of Madam C.J. Walker together, where we played husband and wife. And
then, of course, the woman we were talking about earlier, the director of Origin, Ava DuVernay. How did you get the role? Well,
when I spent City of Angels, which was a TV show on ABC that Stephen Bochco, who created LA Law, also created. But Ava was the publicist for the show. So that's when I met her. We worked together as actor and publicist at the time. And ever since then, when she did her first movie called I Will Follow, I had just directed the film, and she knew about that. We've been friends since City of Angels. And she called me up and said, listen, I'm about to start directing my first movie tomorrow. Can we have dinner together? I just want to pick your brain on how to on this directing thing. And I laugh. It's funny now because now she's become one of the premier directors in Hollywood. Yeah. And I'm learning from her every chance I get.
Right.
But she really did say that. She says, we did When They See Us, about the Central Park Five, as they call it, the Exonerated Five, and a number of projects since then. But she's kind enough to call whenever there's a role in there. And that's Origin was the same thing. She said, I called, there's a role of positive, different, real people into one character. I'd love for you to play this editor of like a New York Times-ish newspaper.
Good. I'm glad you said that, because I did the research of Amari Selvin and couldn't find that name anywhere. And I'm like, okay, is this a real guy? But obviously he was the composite, like you said.
That's right.
So you didn't have to do any research onto the character because it was a fictional character.
That's exactly right. Which was very different when They See Us, which was a different thing where it was all real people.
Right.
And I had
right.
to do a lot of research for that with Ava.
So, what is your reaction to Origin? Obviously, you've seen it.
It's a phenomenal film. To be a part of this cinematic tapestry is amazing. And it's something it's a film, I think it's an important film.
Yeah.
It's emotional, it is educational, but it's an emotional ride. So it's very filmic in that sense. To take that book, which is it's not a narrative, it's nonfiction, and then very dense, but to translate that into a film, I thought she did a phenomenal job.
She did some amazing stories. And actually, I went to the sneak screening they had here, and she does a little Q&A afterwards. And she talked about the kid at the end of the pool scene, about shooting that scene and working with him. And then she talked about the guy who told that story. He was just a guy in the background in that pool scene. And he came up to her with tears in his eyes and said, I had a similar experience. And she said, sit down and tell me about it. And he sat there and recounted that experience right there to Ingenue. And they recorded it. And that's actually him in the movie. That was not scripted, and that was not a professional. So that's pretty incredible, isn't it?
Jerry, that makes sense. I wanted to ask Ava about that, and I forgot to ask her about it once I saw the film, but it stuck in my head. One of the things I love about Steven Spielberg's work, if you look at Jaws, when he shot that at Martha's Vineyard, he used a lot of real people.
Right.
So you got real faces and real feelings. And I watched that interview in Origin. I said, this is documentary real.
Yeah.
This is like one of the best actors I've seen. So it makes sense that he was recounting his story.
Exactly. Now, I want to pivot away from all this movie TV business because I know you got started in the theater and you still have a love of theater. I mean, your Broadway debut was at Stanley and Streetcar. You can't get any better than that. How do you determine, okay, I'm going to do a show now, or I got too many movies to do, or how do you make a decision?
For Broadway, it starts with the opportunity. It has to be the opportunity because just frankly, the money you can make in Hollywood is not the money you make in theater. So I always make sure I have put some money away from some filmic work, television or movies, so I can afford to do it. Because it is theater is my first love. I would rather be on the stage night after night when I can. I
8
love
shows a week.
8 shows a week, but I love it. I love, and also Soldier's Play and Streetcar on Broadway. They're like 5-month runs.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done a 2-year run. I have friends in Lion King who's done it for 15 years.
Wow.
And how do you do that for 15 years? And perspective, right? It's all about perspective. She said, well, listen, think about it. I work 2 hours a day.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
For 15 years. And I was like, that's the best way to look at it.
And it's a fabulous show too. I mean, you can't Lion King it's fun. It's not heavy like the plays you've done. So it's a little lighter and more fun. So it's easier to do.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But it starts with that. I can't wait to get back to the theater, but also specifically Broadway, because New York theater and Broadway in particular, because it's a high wire act, all the stakes are higher.
That's
Financial
true.
stakes, ticket sales, promotion, and then the audiences themselves, the expectation of those New York audiences mixed in with the tourists. It's a different thing. And what I love about Broadway especially is I think it's 41 Broadway houses. And at whatever the time is, 8 o'clock or 7:30 on Wednesdays, whatever it is, same time, all these curtains go up at the same time. They go down around the same time, and that sense of community between the shows, but also the energy in that Times Square area, when the shows get out, it's a separate, very specific subculture that is magical.
So let's move away from theater because you have done some impressive voiceover work. You've done the Douglas Wilder documentary. You played Jesus in an 89-hour audio Bible and a 220-hour New Testament. You played St. Mark. How did you get into voiceover work, and what do you like about it? Yeah.
I think that started off just early on with my agents just kind of sending you out to different things. And I started doing audiobooks in the early 90s. And that's where it started. And then you know how it is. Once you get a reputation for something, people start calling again. To have won the Grammy for Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth.
Footnote.
An Inconvenient Truth was Al Gore's 2006 documentary about climate change.
And literally, I tell you, Jerry, that was just something that came across my desk. I went in for like 5 hours one day, forgot about it, didn't submit anything, but the producers submitted it for the Grammys. Right. And so I got this letter in the mail when they said, you're nominated for a Grammy. I said, really? Then we ended up winning. It was 3 of us. It was Bo Bridges, Cynthia Nixon, who I played her love interest in Sex and the City, and myself. So I love to work. So if opportunities come along and it makes sense, if I have the time and it makes sense, then I'll do it. And audiobooks, I love to do whenever I have a chance to do, because it's just a whole different way, as you well know, of telling stories solely with your voice.
Right. And you don't have to look your best.
You don't have to look your best. Roll out of bed, no hair and makeup. I love that part.
Yeah. Speaking of looking your best, I didn't look up the issue, but you were in the 1996 issue of Playgirl magazine?
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. So I couldn't find it.
That's
so
good.
Was this like a centerfold?
No, there's no centerfold in that one.
Okay. Just an interview, or were you being the hunk in the issue?
No, it was an interview. It was during the LA Law days. And I remember they called and said, this is how they got me. We've never had an African American man on the cover of Playgirl. And I was
Wow.
I love the idea of kind of breaking barriers. So yeah, I'll do it. Why not? I said, I'm not taking any clothes off, but I'll do an interview for you.
There you go.
So that's how that came about.
Another cool thing from your resume, I mean, you've done so many amazing things. You were in Michael Jackson's Liberian Girl music video.
Jerry, how do you find this stuff? Man.
Do my research. What was that like, working on that?
I tell you, it was a lot of fun because it was just a lot of these different kind of artists, some recognizable faces that you'd recognize on the set and talking about Michael Jackson. Like, is Michael going to show up? Is he ever going to show up? And then at the end, you see that at the video, you see he's behind the camera. So, they shot his behind the camera all by itself. So I never met Michael Jackson.
Oh, wow.
I was one of many people in the video just kind of talking about, is he going to show up one day? And he never showed up on that day. Actually.
Oh, man, that sucks.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool to just kind of be in the video anyway.
Absolutely. One question I always like to ask everybody, and I know you're pretty busy running around working all the time, when you have a chance to sit around and relax, what are you watching?
Oh, I got to tell you, my wife and I watch more unscripted, non-scripted television right now. It's crazy stuff. I live in Utah, moved to Utah a year ago. So the thing we've been watching lately is this Sister Wives, which is crazy. So I feel like, in my day-to-day work, so much of it is in storytelling, and reading scripts and learning scripts and all of that. And most of my career, as you know, has been in dramatic work. So it can be some heavy stuff. So it's kind of just nice to, I call it mindless. We're not offending anybody, but I call it mindless TV. So I don't think much about it. It's kind of just see the craziness.
Why do you mention comedy? Why do you think would you like to do more comedy?
I would love to, in training, you do a lot of that. You're kind of trained to do all kinds of different genres. So, no, I'd very much love to do that. I'm always looking for like a romantic comedy or something fun. I did one that's airing on Sky TV in London. I went to the UK and shot a series for that reason. It's a romantic comedy. I play the father of the young girl in it. It's called Smothered. Okay. But it's just in the UK. I think Hulu may show it. But I did it solely for that reason. Well, two reasons. It was a romantic comedy. It was lighthearted. It was fun. But also I wanted to go to London for 2 months, especially around the holidays.
There you go. You mentioned that, which is great. What's next for you?
I have a Nicolas Cage movie coming up, a horror film, which I've never really done.
Oh, great.
The film Tim Reed was the closest thing as a psychological thriller. This is a horror film. Nicolas Cage plays, it's very much inspired by Silence of the Lambs. So he kind of plays the serial killing crazy. I play an FBI agent in that. So I'm looking forward to that. A show called 3 Women that's coming out on Stars soon. It's the most risque stuff I ever did when I did Sex and the City. Stuff we did in 3 Women make Sex and the City look like Disney World. So that was interesting.
Does that mean you had to take your shirt off for that one?
Not just my shirt.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty risque.
Okay.
Stuff I would have never done when I had young kids, but I'm in a different place right now. So that's coming out, and then some other stuff we're circling and talking about right now. A lot of production stuff, Broadway production, but a lot of good stuff. But Jerry, I just want to thank you for taking the time. I thank you for the work you do and for highlighting people that are in this industry who have a love for Virginia. Virginia was very good to me. That theater community was very good to me in Petersburg, of course. So when I saw your email inviting me to come on your podcast, I jumped at the chance because of my love and passion for the people and the place.
Well, I want to thank you, and thank you for coming on. It's a powerful movie, and you can be proud to be a part of it. And maybe we'll get you on again when you got this rom-com, this sexy rom-com coming out.
If it comes to Hulu, absolutely.
All right. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you. You take care of yourself.
Okay. Bye-bye. That was Blair Underwood, the best-known actor to come out of Petersburg, who, in case you didn't know, has had a long and successful career of TV, movies, and stage. He can currently be seen in Ava DuVernay's powerful new movie, Origin. I'll have a link to his IMDb page on the webpage for this show at tvjerry.com.
Coming soon. In theaters.
Argyle. Dallas Bryce Howard plays an introverted spy novelist who's drawn into the real world of spies, including Sam Rockwell, Henry Cavill, and Dua Lipa. From Matthew Vaughn, director of Kick-Ass, X-Men First Class, and Kingsman: The Secret Service. Driving Madeline, a French import featuring a grumpy cab driver and his 92-year-old fare that becomes a sweet and surprising story. I'll have an interview with the director next week on my podcast. The Promised Land. Mads Mikkelsen stars as a man whose lifelong dream is to make a settlement in a barren heath. Scrambled. Yvonne Strahovski plays an eternal bridesmaid who decides to freeze her eggs. Fitting In. Based on writer-director Molly McGlynn's personal experience when she finds out she has an unusual reproductive condition.
TV and streaming.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Prime. This remake about a couple of spies who must pretend to be married stars Donald Glover and Maya Erskine. Genius, MLK/X on Nat Geo, Hulu, and Disney. The next subject in this Genius series explores the lives of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Orion and the Dark on Netflix. DreamWorks Animation has teamed up with Charlie Kaufman to create this movie based on the children's book. The Tiger's Apprentice on Paramount Plus, based on a trilogy of YA novels about a Chinese-American teen trying to fit in at high school while serving as an apprentice to a talking tiger. Curb Your Enthusiasm, the 12th and final season of Larry David's comedy on Max. Abbott Elementary, the 3rd season returns to Hulu. Next week, I'll be featuring another new movie that's opening. Driving Madeleine is a sweet and surprisingly heavy French import, and my guest will be director Christian Carillon. This is Jerry Williams. Thanks for listening.
For more Sister, including literally thousands of reviews,
Visit tvjerry.com.
That's a wrap.